So today I'm talking to Melissa, who is currently travelling, or I say currently travelling, it's not quite the trip that you had planned, is it really? But you're a blended family with 3 kids who are originally from New Zealand, then you moved to Australia, and you've been planning this round the world trip, or the round the world trip, since 2015, which just seems incredible. You've had 4 years of planning. You set off in February, and as we all know, COVID-19 scuppered so many people's plans. So you did a month traveling around New Zealand, road tripping, didn't you?
Yep.
North and South
Yep.
Island. And the plan was originally to go to Asia, Turkey, Europe. But I think that's all up in the air, isn't it? But now you're in Vietnam, and you've been there well, you must have been there for about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, nearly 4 months now.
Wow. You are the expert, the family expert on Vietnam. And actually, I've just been talking to Melissa about her blog, because your blog is so informative. So if any families want to go to Vietnam, you have to read Melissa's blog. I will link it in. But also, I'm going to put it on our Family Travel Resources blog section of the website, because it's definitely something you should read. It tells you where to go, where to stay, what to eat, things to look out for, safety, all the things that you need to know can be a concern to a family when they're about to travel. So I will share that. So let's hear about what you've been up to and what's happening next.
Okay. Well, so when we left New Zealand, we'd only booked our tickets like right at the end of February. So it was sort of already brewing, but it wasn't real. Like at that point, I think there were 16 cases in Vietnam. There were none in Turkey. There were very few. Europe hadn't started blowing up yet. Everything was still okay. And we kind of went about it in our typical Kiwi Aussie way. It'll be right, it'll be fine. And I joked with my mum and I had said, Vietnam wouldn't be a bad place to get stuck. The one thing I did wrong was we booked e-visas, so they were very specific for 1 month only, and they're not usually extendable. So that's been a bit of a pain in the butt.
Oh, no.
They're not, yeah, so they're not the ones that you do on arrival, they're the ones that you do beforehand, and so that kind of turned into a pain, and it's an ongoing pain, but that's okay. And so I joked with my mum, said, it wouldn't be a bad place to end up if we get stuck. And so we did our first week and it was all good. We were down Ho Chi Minh and that was great. And then we flew up to Da Nang, and then it was like just everything just popped. It was crazy. There was a lady who had flown into Vietnam. She had gone into Italy and lied about being in Italy and come back to Vietnam. She was Vietnamese, thank the Lord, because otherwise every tourist would have been hated on. But she was traveling around business class, and she had gone and really affected a lot of people. So that was Vietnam's big outbreak. And when that happened, it was like, oh shit, it was like, no, this is, and to top it off as well, we'd gone up to Da Nang and my son had got sick. So we had high fever the first night in Da Nang, and we're like sitting there going, oh no, what are we doing?
Awesome.
And then our consulate, it was just all at once. It was the whole lot at once. Our consulate emailed and said, because we're from New Zealand, so far away, they're like, commercial flights are not going to be an option really soon. Do you want to go home? If you do, we're sitting there going, a week. We've been a week. This is not happening. And so we kept thinking, I kept looking and going, oh no, there's still nothing in Turkey. It's still going to happen. It's still going to happen. So we got to about, I think the 19th of March was when we left Da Nang and we moved to Hoi An. And
lovely
was
place.
I know, perfect place to get stranded, right?
Yeah.
So we were 4 nights in Hoi An originally. That was the plan. We were only going to spend 4 nights there. And we happened to be bunking in with another Kiwi family, the Kiwi Family Adventures squad from Instagram. We actually ended up in the same hotel together, or the same guest house together for 4 nights. And it was fantastic. We had our older kids of similar ages, so they had a ball. And it was at that time, it was good actually being with the other family, because we actually got to talk and there's me being, I'm quite optimistic, airy-fairy, like it's all going to be all good. And that the mum over there, Julie, she's a bit more realist. It was like, hey, like, look, things are gonna go bad. And so when we sat down and we had a lot of talk about it, and it was like this realization, like things were locking down over in Europe. Things were going like towards lockdown in our country. So we were like, well, it's going to happen here. So we sort of went, right, we have to make a choice. And right now our choice is looking like it's either here in Hoi An or back up in Da Nang. And that was the choice that we had to make. And we made it purely based on the vibe of Hoi An. We stayed and we found a villa there for a month. And then the decision was done. We were like, we're staying, we're not going. We've got to, we plan to be gone for a year, if not two. And that was it. Once we made the decision, it got a lot easier. It was leading up to the decision. That was the hard bit, not knowing and having, your consulate telling you go home. Your families are getting a little bit worried. Like people are like, oh, this could go on for years. And the uncertainty was a bit scary. But yeah, we made the decision to stay. We're happy with that.
And it's a cost-effective place to be located, isn't it? Rather than flying
back. Whereas ours, we were already planning 1 to 2 years, and by then we were planning to build our incomes to a point that we can sustain ongoing travel in the countries we want to go to. And so that was, for us, it was just easier just to stay. We were just like not going back. So
tell us about your income, because I think that's a question that comes up a lot in the group, is how do you afford to travel? How can you work remotely? Are there any options? So I'd love to know what you're doing and how you've built that up, because that could be interesting to other families actually.
So at the moment it's not sustaining, like just to start off, just honestly, like we're not going to get far with what we're making at the moment. So the plan was we saved and we basically sold everything we owned. We didn't own a house, we were only renting. We sold one kind of like average nice car and a real crappy car. And between all of that stuff, we had enough that we thought we might be able to make roughly a year on the road, and we were hoping that would just hold together until we got stuff off the ground properly. So we're already getting like little trickles and stuff like that. My husband has a business where he sells CBD online, so he just does that and we get like little drips here and there. It's not huge yet. And I do like life coaching style, but it's all about raising your vibe and your energy. So I talk about a lot.
I'm so...
I know, and it's so cool. It's so good, and especially meeting the travelers that are still here now, because there are people traveling and there are families traveling, and there's certain things that we all have in common, and it's usually to do with our perspective and our take on things. Like you would experience at the time, you would see, families who travel, you've just got a different way of thinking. And so it's trying to tap into that for people who are trying to make that bridge. And it's, once you're there and once you're feeling good all the time, that's when all the magic kind of unfolds. So, and I really attest, totally how I feel is how we ended up. So after our 1 month in Hoi An, we did 1 month at a beachfront villa on Ambang Beach, and we paid 10% of rack rate. And it was we wouldn't have, no way, just unbelievable what we stayed in. And I was like, wow, this is not in our budget at all, but we're doing it. and things like that, that's all up here. And people think, oh, that's just lucky, but it's not lucky. You've conditioned your brain to think a certain way, and then things just happen for you. I take that all the way back to when I left. So I left domestic violence with my oldest 2 children 11 years ago. And one of the things that I did to help myself up here was I wrote down my 101 things that I wanted to do before I died, and I worked on myself and my energy and my just vibe and everything. So it was all about the secret. It was all about feeling good, being grateful every day for everything. And this is where I am 10 years later. And so that's a real big thing for me, because this is one of the biggest, my biggest dream come true, and I don't even know how I can top this.
Oh, it's amazing. And that's why you're still on the road, because you took that positive thought and ran with it rather than looking at the negative side of it. And what are your plans next then? Because So Vietnam, I know I've just read on your blog actually that you've got a limited time, haven't you, until your visas run out. So
Yeah,
your thoughts on where to go next?
that's the trickiest part. So we're just doing our third extension. We literally just dropped our passports off this morning. That is painful. Don't do what we did. Always get your biggest visa you can possibly get when it's so cheap. I kick myself every day thinking, oh my goodness, how much money we've spent on visas. But so yeah, we're here till start of October now. So I think, fingers crossed, by October, something will want to have us and we can go. At the moment, the borders are not looking good for a place like Thailand, which would be interesting. We would really love to go. My husband's a surfer, so he really wants to go somewhere with a beach. So our top picks would be like Thailand or the Philippines. We've looked at the Maldives, but the only thing is we can get there, but then going onwards, you see, once we leave Vietnam, we're not getting back in for probably a really long time. So we're kind of conscious that if we leave, we need to know where to after that place that we're leaving to. So it's sort of like got to know 2 steps ahead now, not just one. Which it's a little bit hard because as well, you know, between now and October, we don't know what's going to change, whether a second wave is actually going to hit. If it does, where is it going to hit? Who, you know, we've looked at Greece because we love Greece. My husband proposed to me in Greece, so we've got a special.
Lovely. Sorry, my dog's barking. Let me grab him.
Oh, that's okay.
Typical. Greece.
Come and jump on.
Greece would be lovely. What about Malaysia? Have you thought about Malaysia?
Yes, actually Malaysia, my friend and I, so I've got a friend here, she's from the UK, they're the same boat as us, they've got young children, they're actually coming up next week, so we're going to go out to Halong Bay together and hang out for a bit, and we were talking about Malaysia, because my husband did his dive cert here, so we're all now qualified and what are we, open water divers, so that's quite good. So we've looked at that. Yeah, beyond that, no idea. We've still got this business class trip booked from Singapore to Istanbul, which we are able to move whenever we want it to happen. So Turkey's still on the cards, but it'll be next year now. With Turkey, part of why we were going there is we have Anzac Day, so it's like a commemoration for New Zealand and Australian soldiers from the war. And every year on the 25th of April, we celebrate that, and there's usually a celebration held at Gallipoli. So that is massive. So that was why we were doing it at that time, and that was sort of how our timing was all built around that. So we're going to try and redo that part, but we'll spend probably 3 months in Turkey instead of just 1.
Oh, fabulous. Actually, I don't know many members in the group that spent such a long time in Turkey, so that'd be great to see your blog post for that and inspire other families to visit. That would be fabulous. So you're aiming, obviously you don't know, but aiming to get there around March, April time next in 2021.
Exactly, and so that'll be good because the food in Turkish food is great, so
oh, and the water is stunning. I mean, it's beautiful on the coast. You'll have such an amazing time. So in a way, I mean, obviously your trip is different to how you expected, and in some ways it's quite nice that you can slow down and then also really appreciate every decision you make, because you'd obviously planned it in advance, but now you're having to think on your feet and just work out, you know, which are your priorities, where do you want to go to next, and like you say, think 2 steps ahead. I mean, Sri Lanka would be lovely, wouldn't it, because you've got some surfing there.
Yes, Sri Lanka is definitely on the list. Actually, we just met a couple, they're from India, we met them in the van yesterday, driving from supper, and she was telling us, you know, they showed us some photos of like wild tigers and they're like so close, and we're like, wow, were you not scared? And she's like, no, it's fine, we're from here, like they know we're not food, it's all good. You know, we could do Sri Lanka, we could do India. I don't know what we're going to have if we get that far out. I don't know what we're going to do with our flights, but it's all good. Like it'll work. Like we are so sure however it's meant to work out, it will. But we'll be somewhere in Asia until February, March, April, and then from there we'll we'll just work out what we can and can't do. Yeah, we're looking forward to post-COVID so that people can actually come out and enjoy it. And I guess, I've seen a few comments in your group just about people really worried about the price of travel. I really, really think, don't freak out too much about that, because I think people are going to want to open their doors. They're going to want to have you as guests, because this is their income. They've had to put this on hold for months and months. And so you're going to have a lot of really cool deals coming up. I really, truly believe that. It's just travel where you can. If you're in a place that you can't get out of your country, there's bound to be, like, I'm looking at heaps of people that are in New Zealand. I'm jealous right now. I'm like, oh, New Zealand's gorgeous. But it doesn't have the price tag of Vietnam. So
no, I know, that makes a big difference, doesn't it? Well, we'll definitely stay in touch. And like I said, I'll share all your links. So good luck.
I'm looking forward to seeing other families that you interview that are on the road also during this time. It's pretty exciting.
Thank you. Well, have a lovely day. And we're
going to go out for dinner shortly.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.